Um, the Pawnee Nation, as this year began on January 1, it was a very dark winter, and we were in the zenith of the COVID infection, knocked on our doors. Very cold, brutally cold winter, and we had a lot of deaths in our tribe. We had a lot of hardship in our tribe. Our government went to a 4-day work week with a reduction in pay all across the board. There wasn't a day that went by, when somebody came down with the COVID or went into quarantine. And I'm very grateful, to our tribal staff. They persevered through that very difficult time and carried our nation forward during a scary time, And I think that if there are any heroes in our nation during this time in the history of the life of our nation, to me, it would have to be our tribal employees who persevered, and also to the Indian Health Service, who were also really big heroes, with the vaccination program. And for us, on the tribal government side, we created a COVID division. Deidre Yerbick is the director of this COVID division to help us respond to this pandemic. And we now see a light at the end of the tunnel, but at the same time, we're not out of this COVID yet. There's a lot of disease still being spread. We have this variant virus that is out there threatening our people. I've had folks in my own family just recently come down with the COVID, and I know that there's others out there that are still suffering. So we're still in this pandemic. But we do, I think, see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm very thankful for this council and its leadership, during this very difficult period. And we're gathered here today basically as a listening session. We want to hear from you. We're not here to make any COVID decisions today, but simply to hear from our tribal members. We're trying to identify all of the constructive suggestions of our members about how to go forward and utilizing American Rescue Plan money that we received. Members, first of all, and put a program in place for assisting our tribal members, setting aside $9.3 million in what is really the largest tribal assistance program in the history of this nation, to try to assist our tribal members who have suffered from this pandemic, and to try to get our back on their feet, And as we know, as we'll be elaborating on, I'm going to turn the mic shortly over to Deidre. But the nation has received $18.5 million in ARPA money, American Relief Plan rescue monies. And of that 18.5 million, we set aside 9.3 million to assist our tribal members in need. And so the question then becomes and also that was only 65% of the monies so far that we're thinking that we're going to be receiving. The rest of that money should be coming to the nation. The other 35% will be coming, I hope, soon. And so the question for the tribal government is, how can we best use that money to help navigate the nation out of this pandemic into the new normal safely and wisely? We want to come out of this pandemic stronger than we went into this pandemic. And I know that it's the aspiration of this business council to lift our nation to the very next level in all of our aspirations. We're not content with the status quo. We know there's room for improvement in our government. We have, with this COVID money, the opportunity to, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, actually, to do good things for our nation, to build our nation, to come out of this pandemic stronger than we were before it actually began. And so today, earlier, we've sent out a survey to our tribal members to try to get their ideas. We want to hear from you today to continue to gather those facts about and suggestions about what we can do to use this money wisely. We're hoping to establish a very comprehensive record, administrative record of all of these, everybody's ideas. And then later this summer, the council will be collaborating with our COVID division and our division directors and trying to take all of these suggestions and determine, I guess it falls to us at that point, you know, to prioritize decisions, you know, in the best interests of our nation and our tribal members. And so today we want to basically just be here to have a listening session. The reason we wanted to do it over the 4th of July or during our homecoming was that we felt that a lot of our tribal members would be here returning home. We'd have more tribal members, many from out of the jurisdiction, from out of state, you know, that could come and have their input face to face, you know, with our COVID division and our council to give their constructive suggestions to us. And that was the reason why we wanted to try to do that here. And so we're set aside 9 a.m. till noon today to do that. We'll be here as long as folks are here. We do have tribal members that are tuning in, I guess, virtually. I don't know if we're able to receive comments and questions from them. I hope we are. I'm leaving that up to our, I see Mr. Arthur Pawnee shaking his head yes. So hopefully we'll be able to compile those suggestions of our tribal citizens who have tuned in. We're going to make a complete record of all of your suggestions. So I'm very thankful for each of you for being here to help us figure out our next steps in this pandemic, you know. And so I'm hoping that this council, we're not being rushed or stampeded here into making quick knee-jerk decisions. We want to have a very deliberative process to work with all of our COVID division and our other staff among the government, you know, to come up with the best possible spending decisions that we can. And I ask that you'll keep us in your prayers, you know, as we do that, because as Reverend Pratt mentioned in his prayers, you know, it's a heavy responsibility that this council bears. I think we were elected to basically try to do the best that we can, and that's what we're wanting to do here. So with that, council, want to share this mic with each of you. If you have any opening remarks that you'd like to share with the folks before we begin, and then I'd like to turn the mic then and this proceeding over to Deidre Urich, who is the director of our COVID division. And in our decision-making process, this COVID division will be playing a central role. I know the final decisions, spending decisions, rests with the Business Council, but we're going to be leaning relying heavily on the work of our COVID division. That's why we created this division. We created it based on lessons learned in 2020. We did the best we could in 2020, creating programs, but we hit a few bumps in the road. It was a learning curve for us. We wanted to improve it with a specially devoted COVID division to hopefully improve our decision-making process and our assistance programs as we go forward. And so this council will be relying very heavily on the COVID division to help us gather all of these suggestions, organize them, and vet them, make sure they're all legally sound decisions, because we have to be sure that any spending decision that we make complies with the spending guidelines of the U.S. Treasury Department. If we misspend these monies and don't follow those guidelines, the nation will be liable for repaying that money. And so we're having to be stewards of this money to make sure that it is spent in accordance with the law, and so that we don't subject our nation to a liability for having to pay that. So that's some sideboards on our decision making. We got to make sure it's an allowable spending decision. Deidre is going to let us know what those general guidelines are today, and we don't have the final guidelines yet, but we do have interim guidelines, and that's the best that we can go on for now. And she'll share with us what those are. And we do have consultants, and we have an attorney general that can help us along the way where we need to, if we have legal questions on particular spending decisions, whether they comply with the guidelines or not. So we're going to try to do the best we can to make wise decisions that are legally sound and in the best interest of the Pawnee Nation here. So with that, Council, is there anyone here that would like to say anything? Possibly we could start with Treasurer Chapman. She is she's our money lady. She takes care of the money, and she heads our budget committee. And I know that in 2020, Carol and the budget committee was the real workhorse that oversaw the process last year. And so if I could invite Secretary Chapman to just share a few remarks, and then we'll go down the row here for the council to add whatever thoughts are on their minds and hearts.
Thank you, President Eckhawk. I'm glad to see you all here today, and as President explained to you, this is a second set of COVID relief assistance in many ways, and there's a different set of guidelines, and we learned a lot from the first set, and so now we have a COVID office with Deidre and her staff, and they're all very capable, and they'll be helping us get that prioritized and spent. And I'm glad to see you here today, because we want to hear from you all what you think is important for the community to you in living your daily lives, because we're service oriented, and we're here to provide services for you. And this money, I don't know if President told you, is it's just sitting we've got it, it's sitting in the bank now. We're waiting on your input as to how to prioritize it and while following the guidelines. And, you know, we want to be sure that the best decisions possible, and we're just real thankful that you're here today for that. It is a busy time. I would like to thank everybody. I mean, the entire council. We have a budget committee, but the entire council is very active. Each and every one of these council members participate in all this information. They're all very knowledgeable of everything because they come in and they attend the meetings. And I guess as we go forward, it is just a very important issue right now to focus on getting this money delegated. So again, thank you all for coming today.
Noah, everybody, don't have much to say. I'm still kind of groggy, still kind of sleepy from yesterday. But thank you all for being here. And one of the things that I wanted to see coming out of this meeting was the ideas and the thoughts of what you guys wanted, but also to be a part of that planning process in that, so that it's not just us trying to come up with all the ideas of how much everything is and everything, that you guys come with that as well. That way you're invested into these projects and into these solutions that we have to spending this money. So that was one of the main reasons that I was looking forward to this meeting for. But thank you all for coming.
Good morning. Yeah, I just wanted to thank everybody for showing up today, to show you're interested in what we do as a tribe with the remaining funds. One thing I am hoping to see is that you know, we get good suggestions on creating new revenue sources, you know, so that'll help with our infrastructure in the future and you know, to help all our members. But thankful to be here. I know it's Sunday and it's July 4th. Oh, and yeah, we did form a COVID committee, advisory committee that we're hoping to comprise of a couple of members in our community, in our jurisdiction and outside the jurisdiction, the Charlotte council members, and of course regular council. So we will be making those decisions, and hopefully we make the wisest choices that we can make. Thank you guys for being here.
Noah, boy, I tell you, homecoming, it's a wonderful thing. And I know it's not what we're talking about, but goodness, I've missed it. And it's good to see my family, our family. And it's exhausting, I'm sure you all know that. But it's such a good thing and so good to see you all. You know, President Echo-Hawk was talking about the response to COVID back last year. I wasn't on the council, but, you know, the potential, you know, the historical likelihood or, you know, informed by our say, you know, it's making some of those really unpopular decisions, but I think they've resulted in saving just countless lives. So, you know, it's hard to be the person to say we're going to shut things down or slow things down and not, we're going to cut people's hours and their pay and all of those kinds of things. But I think because of that, we're going to come out of this stronger. We won't have lost so much of our. So those just hard times, and I just want to say I appreciate what came before. I can put myself in that place and imagine how incredibly difficult that must have been. Let's see. And I've got to say, coming into this now, that I pray every day for wisdom and insight. I hope we make good decisions for our people, and that we do things that make a difference in our people's lives, not just now, but in 5 years and in 10 years, that we have that goal of being a great and powerful nation. We're a warrior nation. We should have that goal of, I want to say winning. And winning what? I don't think the warrior thing, it's not fought with guns and knives anymore. I think it's fought with business and planning and hard work. And I think we have good people to do that. And I just one last thing, wanted to say that coming on to this council, I've been so impressed because there is so much talent among these folks. It's just hard to imagine that there is this much talent around. And I know that that's true of our tribe in general. We don't always give ourselves enough credit. But there's great talent here, and each of us has different areas of talent. But when we put those together and we're unified, I really believe we can do good things and maybe great things. And I think that should be true of us as a people, that we may have to figure our way through hard times. We may have to make hard decisions at times, but in the end, we're unified. And with that, then we win that battle, whatever that current battle is. We become the great people, or maintain, I see us becoming more of what we were long ago. Anyways, thank you.
Good morning, Arkitaru. I'm Sammy Kimball. I represent the Pitahoe Band. I am really happy to see everyone here and those that are visiting online to listen in, and we are humbled by your presence this morning and grateful for it. I want to thank my uncle for his prayer this morning too. Thank you, Uncle. One of the things that I'm really proud of is this council who wanted to put our citizens first. We didn't put a division between children and adults. It was across the board, and I think that's very important. I think that makes a big statement to where we are here as a council on your behalf. The alignment between the nation's citizens council, our Nassau Council, is huge, and your input is valuable to us. We want to put the people first, and that's why we're trying to have the strategic planning meeting, this forum with you, so that we can listen and take your interest in mind as well. One of the things that I'm really concerned, and my big drive right now is future thinking. I want to leave something good for those that are young, our children here, that someday that they have something good that we left them, and those that are unborn, our babies that are coming in to this nation down the road. So that's my thoughts. I welcome you, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to listen to you and put our best foot forward to try to do something that is smart, and it's going to move us down the road. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Council. And I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Pat Leading Fox is head chief of the Pawnee Nation, and ask if you could come up, and I don't know if you had planned on talking, sir, but if you could come up as our head chief and offer some words at this time. Whatever you want to do, sir.
Now, okay. I want to say thank you for putting me on the spot again. But I want to say too, welcome to everybody that's here. Thank you guys for showing interest in this special occasion here. And I'm really grateful. Like I told y'all before, that you want to do this to listen to the people. That really means a lot to us. You want to garner everybody's input. It's a tedious task, but we're really grateful to see you guys do that. It really means a lot to hear, to know that you guys want to listen to us. And that really, it kind of unifies us in a way, to get behind you, to get behind your decisions that you're trying to make, tough decisions. And I just wanted to, commend you all, again for doing this. You guys didn't have to do it, especially on a holiday, in the last day of our homecoming. Everybody's kind of still, groggy, as was said, and kind of a powwow hangover type day, so, we're lucky and thankful for that, and thankful for everybody that's here today, that's watching, showing interest. I know there's, especially for you on the West Coast, it's really early out there, but you're here listening and watching and showing interest, and so I just wanted to tell everybody a happy July 4th, and enjoy our last day of our homecoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. And I guess I would just add, as I mentioned earlier, the council is devoted to doing all that we can to lift our nation to the next level. And we can't do that without the support of the tribal members. We all want to work together to lift our nation, and as one nation, and so we can't do it alone up here. We need everybody's support, backing, and prayers as well. So at this time, again, this is a listening session, and it's for our tribal members, and I want to introduce to you Ms. Diedrich Urich, and she is the director of our COVID division, and I'd like to just at this time really actually turn the proceedings over to you, if I may, and we'll be here to help answer any questions that we can, and so with that, Deidre, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President and members of council, and especially all of you tribal members that are, I hope, here to share all of your ideas about what can help move your community and your families forward in a good way. What we're talking about here today is the American Rescue Plan Act. And so the focus of this legislation is on recovery. And the federal government identified 5 different areas within this act on areas that they thought would best help us improve our communities and our families. And so I'm going to go over what those 5 areas are, and then my primary purpose here is to get your information about what you feel like would be best under these different areas. But before that, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what the COVID division has been doing, because we are continuing to do the cash assistance program, and I know all of you all know about that, but it is a 3-year program. Each tribal member got allocated $2,500, no matter how old they are or anything, and that's for your use period. And so that's been allocated and set aside. We did have some tribal members that only wanted $1,000 this time, you know, in hopes that, I guess maybe because they might need it later or something like that. So we wanted to provide that opportunity for you as well. And then the second program that we began this week, and we didn't set aside much funds, absolutely change, is our nonprofit and business grant assistance. Currently, that was written up for $5,000 to $15,000 to help Pawnee-owned businesses or nonprofits to help them in the recovery aspect. There are a whole lot of regulations with that program, and one of the big things is if you're in the travel industry or the hospitality industry or the tourism industry, then the regulations are a lot more loose. So with that in mind, your veterans decided to make application, and we were able to award them $15,000 this year for homecoming. And that was, of course, because last year it had to be canceled due to COVID. So that's a direct effect from COVID to your veterans because they couldn't do it last year. And because of COVID, there's been a lot of issues about fundraising and that kind of thing because we've all been hit so hard with everything going on. Currently, there's $50,000 allocated in that program. It will be able to be used for other businesses, but the things you have to turn in if you're interested in those grants are a lot more complicated than if you're a nonprofit that can show we didn't get to do our stuff last year like the veterans did, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So for example, you would need to turn in the fact that you lost a lot of revenue, that it was directly affected to COVID, and a business plan, and your budget. But nonprofits, if it's in tourism, or it's in the hotel industry, or hospitality industry, like I said, it's a lot more lax. Those are the major industries the federal government has identified as suffering the worst from the COVID pandemic. And so that's why they decided to do that. The other thing that we've done with some COVID money is we participated in the health fair and we bought t-shirts to try to get the word out that vaccination's a good thing. You know, it's kind of a marketing campaign, and again, that's something the federal government really is looking good upon right now, so we knew that that was 100% allowable. And really, so far, that's all we've done, and so that's why we're really looking to you to give us your answers. Currently, we have about a 74-page document of interim rules. The federal government has not decided all the regulations and the rules. And we have witnessed in the last couple of weeks that they've changed some of those even from their initial 51-page guidance. We're hoping that they will come up with the rest of the guidance, you know, in a month or so. They extended the comment period, and I will tell you that most Indian tribes put in their comment as, we think the federal government needs to just give us this money, let us decide what's best for our communities and for our tribal people. And so we're hoping that there will be less regulations on some of this money than what it looks like now. For example, they changed their guidance on the cash assistance program, and that was just really awesome and wonderful for us since we were already implementing the cash assistance program. So I'm hoping that there'll be other things that will be a little bit more looser so we can tailor it to us, you know, to Pawnee Nation, because we're not the same as a tribe in Arizona. We're not the same as a community in Wisconsin. We just aren't, and we know best, you know, or you all know best what your people need. So those 5 areas, if we can, I will get back to the 5 areas. The first one is in public health. That's an area where we can spend this money. And I'm going to give you just 4 little examples because I really want your ideas about public health. you know, because you guys are going to think of things that I would never have thought about or any of us up here had thought about. One of it is for COVID-19 mitigation and containment. That was an example lifted right out of the legislation. Those are things like vaccine incentive programs, helping folks in quarantine, that kind of thing, and that's public health response. Another thing would be like medical expenses. You could use that money to help people with COVID-related medical things. Now that's something we're trying to change with our comments. We're trying to say that there were a lot of folks that didn't get the necessary screenings when the healthcare community was so overtaxed, they quit doing some of these tests and stuff. So there's going to be folks that have an outcome because of COVID, because they didn't get their colonoscopy or they didn't get their mammogram, that, you know, seems directly affected, but as of now, it's got to be you had COVID for the medical expenses. And then behavioral health care has seen, there's a lot of issues with behavioral health care. People have gotten very depressed. We all know that our mental health system in the United States isn't what it ought to be, and so that's an area that's fundable. And then any public health or safety staff. Now your safety staff at Pawnee Nation is like your emergency management, those folks. So that's the first area that I'm going to ask for your comment on, but I would like to take this time to let you know the other 4 areas in case you want to think about them while we talk about the first. The second area is economic hardship. Now, the economic hardship area is like our cash assistance program. That was due to economic hardship that a household might experience due to COVID-19. There's other things under economic hardship. There's things like rental assistance, you know, all kinds of, if you can think about just social services, because the economic hardship area is and that's in order to pay people so you have the resources to respond to COVID and to be, you know, help in the rescue effort. Premium pay means that you could pay individuals up to $13 extra an hour who have direct contact with helping the COVID things. Like my division, we're not asking for that. I'm just letting you know what the law says. But that's what it's about. You know, you could pay that to daycare teachers because every day they're getting, anyone that gets exposed constantly are able to get premium pay. The one caveat about this is you are not allowed to use it for money that you furloughed people. So even though we had to furlough the workforce and they all got a reduction of 20%, unless the comments change what the federal government's rules are, we can't use the premium pay to pay back people that we had to take money from. You know, but we're really hoping they fix all this. Then there's tribal government revenue. So out of this pot of money that you got, the $18.5 million, we are allowed to go back and look at the revenue that we lost due to COVID. Like for example, when casinos were shut down, tribal government lost some revenue from that. And so what we are allowed to do is they have some pretty complicated math formulas where you go back, you get to add 4.1% for inflation, and we can use out of that $18.5 million, we can recapture those money, and in effect, they become tribal dollars again. There's 2 things you can't do with those monies. You are not allowed to pay a loan back. So if you had a loan and got behind on it, you can't use the tribal revenue money to pay that loan back. And like all federal funds, we're not allowed to lobby with it. They always have that in there, that you can't lobby and, you know, that kind of thing. Well, the fourth area, no, I'm on the 5th, is the infrastructure area. Now, the infrastructure area, so far, what they are really wanting us to do is either water systems, sewage systems, and broadband infrastructure. The government understands that rural America as well as tribal communities have a really hard time engaging with technology And when we go through things like COVID and schools are shut down, it's really difficult for people to progress if they don't have access to internet. It's really difficult to work from home if you can't get access to internet. So that's one of the major things they would like to see is increased infrastructure in that area. And we have a real big problem with our water systems being outdated, really big problem. We haven't had a big infrastructure push in the United States in like 50, 60 years. And so that's what they're thinking about on those things. And like I said, we're gonna get to know better the rules, hopefully in about a month or so. The comment period's over July 16th, and they're doing pretty good at coming out with rules. But if we can now go back to that public health and really think about that and think about maybe what your life was like during COVID in regards to public health, maybe some kinds of services that the Pawnee Nation could provide to you that you felt like you didn't really get or were more difficult to get. Like some communities want ambulance services, things like that. I know we have one, but it's talking about things like that. So I would like to welcome any comments on how you feel like it would be a good use of our resources for public health at this time. Does anyone have a comment? Okay, perfect.
Now, Pawnee Princess Council, forgive me. I'm really trying to set up everything for tail dancing that we're going to have at 1 o'clock. I want to definitely invite each and every one of you, everyone here. Please don't forget about the tail dancing going on at 1 o'clock today. Setting everything up, so I'm really moving around, rushing around and everything. I just wanted to be real quick. I want to thank my auntie Denise Miller here for letting me take her spot here real quick. I don't want to take that long, but I just wanted to re-innovate that our campgrounds that we've been talking about and discussing and been trying to have. I know they've been discussing it back in 2012 when I was on the organization. I believe Walter, he had started up this subcommittee from the properties subcommittee, and they've also been discussing about moving the Pawnee Homecoming, out here to our tribal reserve out here as well. And then for me being the president, I would still like to see that here today, because we run into a lot of problems right now with the Veterans Organization, the Pawnee tribal members, and the city and the county fair, because these campgrounds down here, they're not ours. They don't belong to the Pawnee Nation. They're, we rent that place out to use, over the weekend, and then we ask the school if we can use their football field and everything. And then I've been getting nothing but good support with them guys, but still I would still like to see our own campgrounds. That way our people can actually have their own family camping spots, because they've been battling around over here for the past 2 weeks, and the power haven't even been started yet, and they've been out here battling over these camping spots and everything. So then I've been having to play referee out there, and just try to make everyone, happy and comfortable as possible, but also too, our family's been down there for years, 75 years. These families been camping 15, 20 years down there right now. And so, yes, they definitely feel entitled to them spots and everything, because that's where their family's been doing, camping there. I know that subcommittee. I didn't even know that there was a subcommittee, and then they invited me over there for my input. But I went over it back in like 2013 with Muriel at the time, because she was on the planning, and then we went all throughout the reserve here, and the only place that we could really, think of was back here in this field. Back here, where we can actually build a big enough arbor and a big enough campground area to house something as big as the homecoming, power, because it's pretty big, and it brings all of our, family and relatives here, and it's a great opportunity to have these meetings here, because, we have all of our tribal members here this weekend, and it's also a great opportunity to, hand out these checks over the weekend too, because we all know that everybody's going to be here this weekend, So just this, Pawnee Veterans Homecoming dance, it brings us all here together. And that's really good, and I'm really thankful that, I have the opportunity to do that for us, bring us all together here and everything. And so I just wanted to re-innovate that, and there is a subcommittee on the property committee that's already talking about this in place right now. So then I just kind of wanted to bring that up to you guys as well.
Thank you, and I just want to thank you for your remarks, Pius and Marlon as well. And first, I wanted to thank you, Veterans Committee, for putting on this wonderful weekend. It's just full of activities back to back. I can't keep up with you guys on your activities, but. And it's so welcome among our people after going through this pandemic, to be able to have our homecoming and hear our songs and dances and visit with our families. And so hats off. I took my hat off to you guys a long time ago. So thank you for that. Thank you for this weekend, and thank you for your remarks. And I'm really glad to hear that as you were talking, that this idea of moving the reserve to, or the homecoming to the reserve, to me, I think it would be a good tourism. This is the biggest tourism. Maybe it ranks up with the steam engine show. I don't know, but certainly for the Pawnee Nation, this is would be the big tourism event annually for our nation. And so it does make sense to really seriously explore the possibility of moving it to the reserve, and having the appropriate facilities for that in the name of tourism, I know that there's some legal research being done about the fairgrounds. Who owns the fairgrounds?
Yeah.
That's a fair question to ask.
That's a huge problem right now.
But in any event, I think that the starting place for that examining that issue is the property planning committee. The Land and Property Committee. And I'm glad to hear that Donna, who chairs that committee, has set aside a work group to study that question along with the Veterans Organization, and so, and because this has been discussed for several years, as far as I know, at least, with growing interest, that I hope that if it's going to be done, it'll be done under this council here. So, and we'll need a lot of your input and assistance on that, working closely with the veteran organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Pius.
Thank you all very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also like to welcome any comment on any area. Yes, please. Would you like, if we can come up to the microphone, then the folks on Facebook and YouTube can hear too. So.
Thank you, Council, for this opportunity, and I also want to thank the people for also coming and being a part of this. I'm an elder of our Pawnee Nation, and I've watched our nation and enjoyed many things through the years that I've watched our nation and worked within our nation as well. There's two things that I want to speak to. Now, whether they fit into the 5 things that you mentioned, I'll leave that to the council to figure out. But the first thing that I want to bring to your attention is that, and I think, Pius and the veterans spoke to that briefly about land acquisition for our tribe. This is very important. Owning land is very, very important for any person. But I think more so for a tribe. Our Pawnee tribe is poor in some respects by having less than 1,000 acres that we call our reservation. But yet we have a lot more land when you consider all of the Indian land that we have. I would like to see our nation, if there was a way to develop a larger reservation for our tribe. And if it's buying up Indian land or other land that's currently out there for sale, for our use. And I understand there's a good initiative in the agricultural side of it. Our people going back to growing gardens, learning how to preserve food, and many of these things that we need. And I think that's a good thing. Also, the initiative to develop the cattle industry or buffalo industry, whatever. But we need land for this. And right now, most of our land is leased out, on an individual basis. Not too much use comes out of that, even for the individual owners. But I think if we had a larger land base, that would benefit our tribe more. The other thing that I want to speak to is, I know that a lot of people are always interested in a per capita payment. Right now, we all know that every year Congress appropriates $30,000 for our Pawnee Nation, which we call the annuity. And I think it's down around $8 a year for each person. I would like to see the council take this opportunity, if there is a way with these 5 steps, to develop a higher individual payment for every Pawnee tribal member through some of the use of this money. I know that the casino operation and other business operations of the tribe may provide revenue, and a lot of this revenue is used for council, for your pay, as well for payments for maybe the utilities and other things of the Pawnee Nation. It never seems to grow. Every year it's the same thing. We have no money. I'd like for the council to set aside an amount where Even if our Pawnee tribal members got $100 a year, that would mean something rather than the $8. So starting with the $30,000, I would suggest that you supplement that with a set aside. To get $100 a year for every tribal member, I think it would take about $3.5 to $4 million as a set aside, and using the interest from that to provide that $100 a year as a minimum. And if you could develop through other revenue that the tribe may receive, continue to build upon that. But I think this opportunity that we have as a nation to utilize this money is a one-time thing. And it's good, you know, that the government is doing this for our nation, but we can't count on that for other things through the years. So we have to do things for ourselves, and we have an opportunity now. And it's just a small part. If you could see your way to set aside $4 million for our Pawnee Nation needs, you can put that under the food that our people need, housing, or whatever they might utilize that for. It's just a very small amount, but it's a start. And so I would just encourage you to think about that. To think about it. I'm not in favor of more buildings because we have to pay for the utilities, maintenance, and other costs associated with more buildings. And I wonder what the bill is for our tribe now with all the buildings that we use. I see lights on, air conditioning going, and that's going to take a lot of money. I think we might look at that, might use our money better, in a better way for our people. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Pratt. By golly, your remarks and your constructive ideas are very well taken. You know, I think that any Indian nation worth its salt is or should be in the business of acquiring land. We are a land-based culture here in the central Great Plains, and we always have been, and we always will be a land-based culture, tied to the land, the animals and plants that grow on it. And we're outgrowing this tribal reserve. We really are. You know, we're running out of space here, and we do have agricultural ambitions, both bison as well as cattle. And I know, for example, there's tracts of land out for sale for cattle over by Merrimack and over by out past the Y a mile or two, 1,100 acres and 1,100 acres, prime pasture land. You could support on either of those tracts 300 head of cattle or bison each, you know. So that's out there, and I know that the tribe has acquired the one tract adjacent to the reserve, about 100 acres. I think is at the Waters tract, and then there's another 49 acres that we're looking at as well. You know, but I'm all for doing whatever we can do to enlarge this reservation. So that is very well taken by me, and I hope our council, you know, hopefully we can find a way to possibly use some of this money in an allowable way to do that. Also your per cap idea, I think that's something we can look at too, you know, in a serious way as we go forward. That per capita is a $30,000 a year. It's a treaty provision. It's supposed to be paid to the nation in perpetuity. That means forever. And if we can find a way to supplement that, as you say, to make it meaningful, like $8, you know, that don't even buy a sack of groceries anymore, you know, and so as one of the goals that I have, and I think most of the council share, is the great need to diversify our economy, to grow, and that would include growing our gaming industry and taking it to the next level, but also non-gaming enterprises, agriculture or whatever you may be. And at some point, we're going to reach our promised land, and we're going to have the revenue income that we can do things. And I think maybe at the top of the list, we ought to find a way to supplement, to use that 30,000 as to build on it. And I think that's a good idea. And I'm hoping that we will be able to do that. You know, possibly with some of this money, or also through our efforts to strengthen our tribal economy, and with that goal. That's all very well taken, and I appreciate those remarks. You came with your thinking cap on today, and I appreciate that. Those are good remarks. Thank you.
All righty. Noah. I'm Denise Miller. My Indian name is Tupidit Starka. I'm Kitkahaki, and I come here on behalf of the Pawnee Seed Preservation Society. And in our Pawnee corn into our tribe, we've even honored it in our Kitkahaki ceremony. Wherever the Pawnee went, they carried the seeds with them. If it was to battle or to hunt buffalo, they carried the seeds with them. And here we are today, still carrying our seeds with us through this pandemic. This is some actual seeds that were carried down from Nebraska with our tribe from the late 1800s. I wanted to show them to you.
Scoot up, please, the mic.
From Nebraska. These are, we're still carrying them. See? That we're known, all other tribes know us for our gardening, our corn, pumpkin, squash, and things. Okay. And in 1998, Nora Pratt blessed 3 varieties with the prayer that inspired the project to form. And thanks to the Cultural Committee and the Nasharo Council families were located to donated some of their seeds. Dwayne Pratt was one of the families that donated their seeds. Some varieties were renewed with only 20 seeds. Debbie Echohawk is known nationwide as the Pawnee Seed Keeper. And since 2004, she has been working with Ronnie O'Brien, a Nebraska farmer, and more recently with Tom Hagemeyer, an adjunct professor of agronomy and horticulture at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Dr. Hagemeyer has done analysis of our Pawnee corn, and it shows a higher nutritional value than that of regular corn. Debbie has been working with Nebraska farmers for 17 years to grow, sort, and select the best seeds to be grown again for the purest varieties of red, blue, and eagle corn. The gardeners have learned that corn plants stressed during growing season are most likely to produce recessive traits that bring out other varieties. This method has brought back the variety called white sweet corn, and we are striving to bring back the speckled and the mother corn. The hope is that one day the Pawnee will transition from seed bank to stage of full-fledged farming, and that white sweet corn was used in a ceremony we had called Haku, peace pipe ceremony, where it was real sacred. We are now at a stage where we can make our seed bank and corn varieties a self-sustaining operation and provide jobs for our people. I'm requesting $150,000 to $120,000 to facilitate the society and eventually turn it into a profitable business where we could provide the tribe with a 10% in taxes for helping create sustaining support and jobs. The Pawnee Seed Preservation Society is now established as a 501c3 with a board of 5 directors. We have always practiced a mixed agriculture and hunting lifestyle. Our corn is one of our sovereign responsibilities to protect as Pawnee people. This is so important that we need a tribal statute to protect the sale and cultivation of our corn and variety seeds. I learned of the plight of the Corn Society through the AmeriCorps program. This is the 4th and last year Debbie is going to run the program for our corn. And I heard the council wanted input from the tribe for suggestions in what to do with the millions of dollars allocated from the American Rescue Program Act. The corn project is at a stage that it could be made self-sustaining if the council would provide this request. The TDC has made an offer for purchase of the old gas station on the hill, and we could renovate it for a commercial kitchen to sort, dry, package, and store our seeds and flour, provide jobs for our people. One of the AmeriCorps objectives was fighting poverty. This will help that. The emerging of cultural preservation and economic development supports our cultural survival. People are always looking for corn and blue corn mush for our ceremonies. In some countries, they make cornmeal drinks for a higher nutritional and healthy drink and curbs the appetite. This is a small investment compared to the invaluable return of having our Pawnee corn preserved and protected, not only for self-sustaining, but as a sovereign, sacred gift from the heavens to us, the Pawnee people. Let us continue to carry our seeds with us long after the year of the pandemic, when the corn preservation project almost came to a standstill. They didn't hardly have anyone to help last year with the corn sorting, seed, and everything. And so I've got a budget for you to give you out, and then if you could also waive the $23,000 rent on building 1 until we could move into that facility. Yeah, if you want to. And then I want to give that to them too. But that's all. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
What building did you say that?
Building 1, they're charging us $23,000 a year rent, and it's really in dilapidated condition. It needs, carpet and walls. It's just a table. We have to bring our own chairs. That seems like an awful lot for the building 1 to. And then that's also the Nasharo Chief's office building, and it needs a renovation some, and we share that building with them when we meet. So I hope y'all could take my consideration.
Thank you, Denise. Appreciate those remarks. It seems to me that, first I want to thank you for your remarks and on behalf of the Seed Preservation Society. And I just wanted to say that to commend and thank Deb Echohawk and the Seed Preservation Society, all the gardeners that we have here. To me, you are doing the nation a great service, because Mother Corn has always been a big part of our Pawnee culture. And our people have always followed Mother Corn, whether in times of peace or times of war, prosperity, and times of starvation. We've had our Mother Corn. Some of the old stories, we received that corn, during the creation of the world, when the world was young. I've read, the evening stars, the one that maybe came from her garden over the skies of Pikes Peak there. We received our Mother Corn. It's been with us since then. And so you all are working to preserve and to restore a big part of Pawnee culture here. And I know that this council has been very supportive of the Seed Preservation Society. Our Attorney General created the 501c3 legal documents for the society. This council, at the request of the Seed Society and the Chiefs Council, has set aside Building 1 for the Chiefs Council and the Seed Society. And at the Seed Society proposal to pay rent, we are working with them to hammer out those details. So we are very supportive and have been supportive of the Seed Society. They use our storm shelter there, you know, for their cash, and we've been collaborating. We're open to forging an MOU between the Seed Society and the nation to delineate how we can go forward in cooperation together. And so your proposal it's well taken by me, and we will take that and put it into the mix with our other decisions. And I can't promise, you know, what the council will ultimately do, but it will be among those worthy proposals that we will be looking at as we go down the road. So thank you for that.
Are there any more comments on any of these areas that we've been discussing? Okay, thank you.
Noah, my name is Gina Francis, and I am a Pawnee tribal member at Kikaki. I don't have a well thought out speech, but I have a list of some items that might be helpful. So I know a lot of people in the Pawnee area, their electric bills are really high. Some people have $1,000 electric bills with the City of Pawnee Electric. So it'd be nice if there was some kind of solar, some kind of energy program, whether it's solar help for individual homes, or if you come up with your own energy company to override the City of Pawnee, because it's ridiculous for someone, an elder, to pay $1,000 for electricity. So some kind of energy program. It would be nice for tourism if you could build a hotel near the highway next to the casino and cater to the traffic, because there's a bunch of truckers. There's a lot of, even if you had a Starbucks, there's a lot of travelers on the highway. So that could be an income generating, even if you just had a coffee shop, more restaurants, a hotel, even if the culture center was towards the highway. So you could kind of have a hotel, culture, casino. I think you need to hire a journalist or a writer for the tribe, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on that people are unaware of. And communication is key. You need to improve your communication. I think elder housing should be on the list. Have a living community for elders, and possibly different phases of elders, from just living to people with dementia and stuff like that. Even if you do expand broadband, people don't have computers, so you need to figure out technology for tribal members. There was a gym built and it has 24-hour access, so maybe you could have a business center where people could go in and access computers, printers, for educational purposes. And possibly build tiny homes for people to quarantine in. We need legal help with seed security. We don't want to patent it, but we need lots of legal help. I think the gym membership has a corporate level. I think it's like 2,500. If the tribe could purchase that and give all tribal members free membership to the gym and tribal employees. There's a lot of software out there for the language. There's a company in Las Vegas, they do kind of like a tutorial platform, so you can have your language online and it will quiz you afterwards and you get a grade and a certificate. So it's online learning with the language at your own pace. So it'd be nice to have some kind of language interactive something online. I do like the idea of the campgrounds with individual camps, kind of like the Otos. They have their platforms for families, so you know where you are camping. Right now, it would be nice to have a new website that has that will honor tribal members. So it could be like an online directory, and you can have all the artists, entrepreneurs, even just individuals who want to tell their story. So it'd be like a collective website for tribal members. And you could, if you're an artist, you can have portfolio pieces, how to contact the individual. If you're a plumber, if you want to hire a Pawnee electrician, Pawnee architect, it would just have a directory of different professional stuff. And it'd be nice if the council was full-time. I'll use the Otos as an example. They have full-time council. They have offices. They get business done. They have 10 different businesses. And so you could tell when there's a lot of focus on something and when there's not. But, so that's kind of my rough list. So, thank you.
Gina, thank you for those remarks. Wow, you've got a list of very, very well-taken suggestions. All of them are very worthy of consideration, and we'll definitely take a hard look at each and every one of those. Thank you so much for those constructive ideas, and we'll definitely add them into the list. So thank you so much for your interest and your also your expertise in communications. I thank you for sharing that with us as well, and your good ideas. You know, I'm loving the tiny home. I've been pushing for the tiny homes for a long time. But anyway, thank you so much for that, Gina. Appreciate that. Folks, anyone else? Auntie, nice to see you. I hope you're having a nice homecoming.
I am. I have lots of company. I just wanted to say, this may not be in what these 5 things are here, but you know, when we have our powwow, that brings lots of money into Pawnee. And I don't know why we have to pay to use that facility over there. The Pawnee, the city council ought to be that without having to pay. We're bringing money into Pawnee. And so I believe that that's one thing we ought to check into. And then another thing, and I may have said this before, but we were talking about getting more of our land, you know, expanding our land. And what I have said before, and I don't know if you all can do this or what, but you know, when our right there beside it, there's all these white people that live there, and we need, either they sell it to another Pawnee or sell it to the Pawnee tribe. And that way, we won't be losing all this land. And then there was one more thing, and it's kind of, I don't know what you would say, but when you guys write these proposals, different, that new place down there for exercising. Every time a proposal is written, they always have to put in there us elders. And if it's not something that doesn't really affect the elders, don't put it in. You're using us, I don't think that's, but they really went to town on that. Oh, it'll help the elders to have that new gymnasium, Well, half of us can't even go down there and exercise or do anything. And so I just want to tell you, don't use the elders to, say, well, if we get this money, that's not right, And anyway, that's just one of my little pet peeves. I got some more, but I don't want to give you. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Lily Cummings, for your remarks.
Lily Brandt.
Lily Brandt, excuse me, I stand corrected. I can't keep up with her. Those remarks, I know that, I don't think that the city is actually charging money to use the fairgrounds to us.
I'm sorry, I thought that's what he said.
We have to deal with them, I guess, and sometimes usually they're very cooperative, and sometimes we run into some friction, but I don't know that they actually charge us. I could be wrong, but I know when I was the drumkeeper with the veterans, we didn't have that issue, but thank you. On this land, I know that some tribes, for example, I'm thinking of the Umatilla tribe, for example. You can't leave in your will your land to anyone unless they're an enrolled tribal member. And the point is to keep that land, as you say, in tribal ownership or tribal members' ownership, and not let it be alienated to outside, even other tribes. I don't know how they do that, but I do know that that's what they do. And that's something that maybe we should take a look at, the legal ability of the nation to put some limitations on that as well. But thank you for that. Thank you for those thoughts.
Does anyone else have any other thoughts? This has been really helpful. Okay. Oh, come on up, yes.
Noah, should have wore jeans. I just came here to pick up my check, and then seen this, and I was asking people if it talked about language. A couple people mentioned it, so I'll get up here and on our behalf, I guess, on our behalf. So Zach and I, we've been working on this since 2013, so that's probably 8 years now. Honestly, by 8 years, we wish to have a full-time language program where we can work on the language, And those who don't know me, we went to school. We got our master's degrees in linguistics. We have our former princess, I think she gave up her title this year, but she got her bachelor's degree with an emphasis in language loss. Another one that's educated. We talk about education a lot here. So we have 3 right there in our own tribe that are Pawnee, that are from Pawnee. I don't know if any other tribes can say that, that their own members, not just a member that lives outside, but we grew up here, we're from here. So I'd like to advocate on our behalf, we're ready. I don't know why we haven't given the chance, you know, but the past councils, you know, the problems we had as a tribe, kind of seems like we're leveling out, kind of going up now with this council. It's, I'll mention that's probably the most culturally aware council that I've been a part of. To go back to the Memorial Day, I think everybody was there except the president over there, but you're sick, so I'll give you that one. You were sick, but everybody else was there. You know, we didn't have to come find you. You guys were there, present, and that made me feel good as a Pawnee person to see our council there at our cultural events. You know, not just when you're campaigning, coming up here and introducing yourself. We're here, but language. That can hold a conversation in Pawnee. Not saying that we don't know, the other people don't know words, phrases, but how many can actually hold a conversation in Pawnee and respond in Pawnee? Are we happy with that? Are we happy with just 4 of us on behalf of 3,500 to be able to speak our language? Something that makes us unique, makes us different from other tribes. I'm one of those 4 just because I'm the language teacher, but I'm not happy with that. I'd like to be able to expand our language. We have students here. We have students on the council that have came to class. Again, it makes me feel good. Hearing some Pawnee at the powwow, at the hand games, really made me feel good as a teacher because those people who speaking were our students. And we haven't got to hold class since before pandemic. But still, yeah, we're hearing some more language, and that makes me feel good. So I hope you guys see what we're doing, kind of invest in what Zach and I are doing, and help support us. That's kind of my own thing. I didn't have a speech prepared. Like I said, just on to get that check, I guess. I don't know, but you guys have any questions? That's kind of what I want to do on behalf of the language. We would like if you guys were to ask us, hey, what's your wish list? We want like a commitment from the tribe, at least for a couple of maybe 3 years. Get us on so we can go for grants, so we can go for these A&A grants. We're already going to go for them, but as of right now, Zach and I are writing those grants, but we're just 2 guys with other jobs. And I know other programs, they go for grants to fund their program, but that's part of their job. That's part of their 8 hours. Zach and I, 8 hours go to other jobs, and then our nights, our weekends are focused on creating material, but then we're working on these grants. So we would like a commitment if that's possible. And I think that's about it. I don't know if you guys have any questions for me.
Let me thank you, Taylor, for those remarks, and I want to basically express to you how much I really appreciate you and look up to you as one of our language instructors, and I want to just say this. I'll put this on the record. That in my view, you and Zach are true role models in terms of volunteerism for your nation. As has been said by John F. Kennedy, ask not what your nation can do for you, but what you can do for your nation. And I put that out there for all of our tribal members. What can you do for your nation? And I look to you and what you and Zach have done to volunteer your time and your career to come to the aid of your nation to help us preserve our endangered language. And I know when I ran for office, my goal, one of my stated campaign platforms, I want to hire yourself and Zach as full-time Pawnee educators in our language, I'm not going to, I know I personally am not going to rest during my short time on this council, but to see that come to pass, because this council has declared a state of emergency to preserve our endangered language, and we want to remove any barriers to doing that. And that means that we need to find a way to bring you and Zach on as full-time Pawnee language educators. We're blessed and we're fortunate, more fortunate than other tribes that have endangered languages, because we've got these two young men that are stand ready to volunteer their time to this nation to help us preserve this endangered language council. And in addition, we have a huge Pawnee language database that Mr. Douglas Parks devoted his entire career putting together. And so we have all of the ingredients to preserve this Pawnee language if we can get these gentlemen on board as Pawnee educators. I know that we have some grants in place and some plans in place, to create an archive that will include our Pawnee language database. And so we have that capability, and I know that these gentlemen have been doing this on and off for the Pawnee Nation for the past 10 years, and I think it falls to this council finally to find a way, and I don't know if we can, to what extent we can use this ARPA money or whatever to support their efforts and to get grants written and out the door, and otherwise find a way to bring these important, I can't think of hardly anything else more important than to preserving this language. And it ought to be a big priority of this council to see that come to pass, under our stewardship, And so I just want to thank you for your remarks, council. If anyone else wants to also speak to this language, but we're all very acutely aware of the need to do this. We have passed a resolution declaring this emergency here, state of emergency. And as one of our chiefs said, if tribal members had enough effort, spent enough time and effort and concern over this tribal assistance program to preserving our language, for example, we'd be where we need to be on protecting it, So I thank you for your remarks. I thank you for your volunteerism. I thank you for the skills, I think, in your hands, resting on your shoulder, and into your hands rest the future of this language. And so with that in mind, you have my full support as president of this business council, and I hope that that is shared by the rest of our council, to acknowledge and see this priority at this time in the life of the nation, to take some decisive steps to try to make this come to pass, So I hope that TS is going to bless you for many, many years to come, because you're a very important person to our culture. So.
Oh, anybody else got anything?
Anybody else got any comments, questions?
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Can I just add one? I just want to add one thing. Like my father was full-blood Pawnee, and then my husband Lloyd Cummings, of course, he was full-blood. But both of us, our parents did not teach us how to speak Pawnee. But sometimes I think it's because, like my dad went to the Indian school, and of course at that time they were trying to, take our language. But I was just wondering if maybe sometime this is would be a big thing to do, but has any tribe ever sued the government for doing that, taking our language, and then use that money to teach. You know, that would be one way to get the money for that program. And I think one good thing would be, you know, some of us my age, we don't learn as fast. But I would really like to see them maybe once a week or once a month have a class for the little ones. They learn real quick. Look how they can use those computers and stuff, you know. But their little minds, they learn real quick, and it would be good to have classes for the children and let those boys teach them. And I think we'd be surprised how those little kids would you know, learn our language. And just like me, I said we weren't taught. You know, I know my Cummings in-laws, they used to say they didn't teach their kids because they could talk and the kids would understand what they were saying. But anyway, I think that would be really good if we had classes for the little kids, you know. Yeah. Okay.
Are there any more comments on what you all feel like you'd like to do with some of this money? I think we've gotten some really excellent comments. Oh, good.
Noah, good afternoon. My name's Ella Black Owl, and I live out on the East Coast. I live in Massachusetts, so I'm really glad to be home this weekend. And it's really glad to be here and hear a lot of the great ideas, suggestions, and a lot of key points that have been pointed out today. We have a lot of awesome volunteers throughout the years, you know, just with these two that have already been mentioned, the seed preservation and the language. And there's been so many changes throughout the years with the language, you know, and maybe going off of what Taylor said, and I can't recall what is going on with the charter school, and I think it's been mentioned before for immersion school, you know, because like Lily said, and we all know that the young ones, they pick it up really fast. I was just trying to think of things, but we have a lot of artisans, we have a lot of people that do beadwork, we have a lot of individuals that sew, you know, and I think, you know, we've all seen maybe with other tribal programs elsewhere that they have programming that they have individuals come in and they teach, you know, have classes, you know, whether it be through here, whether it be through, you know, the wellness group or the opioid, you know, program, or through the SAP program. But we have a lot of folks, even if they live up in Red Rock area or wherever, surrounding areas, that, you know, that could maybe be utilized to lead classes, to get our community members involved, because we have a lot of people, and that kind of goes towards the behavioral health, you know, being connected and being able to take part and continue on with cultural ways. And, you know, there's a lot of awesome stuff that has been out program-wise, just how they adapted not being able to be in person. One page that I follow on Facebook is a group out in Arizona. You know, it's an urban area, but they have a lot of land. Again, they have a lot of land. They have a lot of space for community gardens. They have several throughout Mesa, Phoenix, but they have a lot of programming that they're able to offer. And being out in the Boston area, you know, we're always trying to provide for our urban folks out there. But it's always good when I see the programs that we have here at the tribe, But there are a lot of individuals that I've seen lately, they're online, want to take moccasin class, moccasin making class. And I know they had that previously, but, right now, a lot of people are trying to find, those regalia for their little ones, and it's constantly throughout the year, you're trying to take care of your little ones and your family members with stuff like that. There's just all kinds of different things that I think would help individuals that are going through losing a loved one, and or not having work. There's other things that you could utilize to help them with maybe a stipend or, teaching a class. The other one is going off of the grants that you're going to be making for people that own their own businesses. I was driving through town the other day, and I had asked my sister, what are they doing with this building? And I think it's the one that they mentioned, the gas station. It's like, how is that being utilized? And I'm glad to see that that's possibly going to be that way. They're going to be utilizing it, because they've been putting in so much work into that, and just each time there's so much progress, and it's awesome to see that, and it's awesome to see the support that they're getting from the Business Council and the commitment for these things. But also for these individuals that sell, burritos, or they sell Indian tacos, or they sell salsa, or they sell, or see a lot of them, and they work so hard, but just if there's some way that they're able to utilize funds to grow even more, because, that's their livelihood. So just wanted to kind of add that, and I think they will probably be taking that up and utilizing and bringing their business plans forward, and tapping into that, because again, it's needed for them, and that's their way of providing for their families. And again, also someone had mentioned the communication, that, and we learn, it's new, but there's a lot of ways to improve on the communication just to the tribal members. And I know there's a mail out going out, I believe, because it's good. They did an awesome job Thursday, handing out the checks and everything, and today, and they've done an awesome job getting things processed. But I know there's probably ways that the communication to the people can be improved, or the process of how that's being handled internally, just to kind of improve it, because scrolling through Facebook, you see a lot of things, but and that's all. Just want to be communicated to, know what the process is, how it's going, and just really appreciate everyone being here today, because it's been a long, busy weekend. I almost missed my plane here, but I was really glad I made it, because I needed to come home and rejuvenate and be with my people. So I'm really thankful that y'all had this forum this weekend. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. If we had a door prize for the person who came the furthest, I'm sure you would have won it. But thank you for your remarks. They're very well taken, constructive remarks. And I'm very taken by your thoughts with regard to our artists and our artisans in the community here, bead workers, moccasin makers. We have world-class artists here in our community, Mr. Sonny Realrider being one of our prominent tribal artists. I'm glad you're here, Sonny, as well. But I think it's really important for us to find a way to support our tribal artists and artisans, as you mentioned. I would love to see a renaissance in our traditional arts and culture here, in terms of baby board, moccasin making, and beadwork, and all of the good beautiful things that our folks used to make, to continue that on here. And I think that one way to promote that is again to diversify our economy in a culturally appropriate way that would include finding ways to support our artists and artisans, and to ensure that our traditional arts and crafts, flourish and continue to be great objects of beauty and appreciation, for our people. And I also agree with you about the need to improve our communications, and we see that in the this COVID climate, especially when we couldn't have face-to-face meetings, and we're learning now about the IT and the how to communicate virtually, and we're seeing, we're trying to improve that system, so I want you to know that we recognize that, the need to continually improving that to better communicate within the government, how we're governing, to communicate with our tribal citizens better, as well as the public at large, and so we're acutely aware of our short failings, and that there's a lot of room for improvement, and we're planning on addressing that the best way that we can here. So thank you for, okay. You're back. Welcome again.
In regards to the building in Nebraska, so was that all okay after that flooding they had a while back? Is there anything that needs to be improved on as well up there, taken care of?
That's a good question. We were gift deeded a building in downtown Dannybrook, Nebraska, which is about the size of Merrimack, a little bit bigger than Merrimack, I guess. And it suffered really bad flood damage there, and they had to close it down. The tribe was able to get some FEMA monies to begin restoring that building, and in my mind it was a little bit questionable whether we could restore it, because man, I seen it after that flood. It was really, about that deep in water, and it was just really trashed out, and I'm wondering, dang, is there anything we can do to salvage this building? But apparently they're working on it. And the question then becomes, and it was used for selling our arts and crafts there, and we have that building in Dannybrook and a neighboring 60 acres that was gift deeded to the Pawnee Nation, the Roger Welch farm there right on the banks of the Loup River. And our property committee is that falls within the purview of our land and property committee. What to do with our property up in Nebraska? We got other property up there as well. What is the game plan for using that land and taking care of that property up there, for the nation? And so that's sort of on their plate. But I do know that they did secure FEMA money to get that building rebuilt, and there'll come a day sooner rather than later where the nation is going to need to really step in and assume management of that property up there, and we need to have a plan in place, and that falls within the purview of the Land and Property Committee, which is under the leadership of Councilwoman Donna Hare. So thank you for your remarks this morning. Appreciate that.
Well, I have been very impressed with most of your remarks, and I'm glad that we've got some new ideas, I think, too, that we had never been approached with before. Now, is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Please come forward and let us know how you think the Pawnee.
Hawaii, Dajai Pajay. Cheryl Ganhill, COVID Division Procurement Manager, Wajaji, Pahaska. Hello, everybody. My name is Cheryl Ganhill. I'm actually Osage, and I work for the COVID Division Procurement Specialist. But I reside here in Pawnee, and I was listening to what she was saying about even teaching these classes and stuff. I'm a beater, and I sew. and I make shawls. But I have nowhere here in town that I can buy these supplies. I have to go to Skytook, or I have to go to Ponca or somewhere else. What I would like to see for your people is to utilize this cultural center that you have, the cultural department, and opening up a gift shop that would allow to buy for those supplies, and it allows your local artists to sell their wares on a commission. Then those monies can help to fund that cultural department. They can also have a building to where they can teach these classes, where they can teach how to make those shirts, how to make your regalia, how to make moccasins, eventually to grow to where they can do that online, so you can reach your people outside of here to teach those online, to make those available. This helps to fund that. So that was just my suggestion that I wanted to offer to you guys. I would rather purchase my stuff locally and give back to the Pawnee Nation than to have to drive and give those supplies elsewhere. So, and y'all are in dire need of one for here.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. Are there any other comments that anyone has? I think that this has been a really good public forum, and I thank you so much. Okay, Louise.
I'm sorry it was a late night. We was popping fireworks, so please excuse how I am dressed. But I'm coming to talk about the fact that our community and here in the nation needs an NA counselor, not just an AA counselor. We have methamphetamine addicts, you know, and that's really bad here. You know, I myself am a recovering, and that's just, you know, I lost my sister to it, and I'm losing my brother to it, and there's no help in the nation for somebody that's on meth. You know, there's Alcoholics Anonymous, which I'm very thankful for our substance abuse program, but they're more geared to alcoholics. It's not for methamphetamine. I have family members who need help desperately. You know, this is my nephew, and we lost his mother to meth addiction. And I'm gonna be losing my brother to meth addiction. And had I not been saved myself, I would be lost too. You know, but I'm here, and I'm an upstanding community member now. You know, I have recovered. You know, it does happen. And this is something that is really heavy on my heart, is this meth addiction that's here in our homes, in the nation, with our employees, you know? And what's the repercussion to them users? You know, how do we say, hey, here's some help? We don't. We say, hey, here's an AA program that offers once a week help, you know, on Wednesday nights. And I myself I'm trying to go to church, so that's not helpful to me at this moment. And to tell you the truth, what AA is gonna help me as a meth recovering? What AA program is gonna help me as a meth addict? You know, where's the help for the people who are actively using? You know, I constantly struggled with that when my sister was here, going back and forth to the AA program and to the clinic. I really needed her to sober up while she was here. And there was no help. You know, my Aunt Babs was there, and I could call her and talk to her, and, you know, she could work with me, but she's not here no more. You know, she understood it was something that was on her heart. And now where's that help? You know, where are we gonna get it from? That's a big thing here. You know, it's a big thing here in town, and it's weighing heavily on my heart, and I want to express that to our people, to let you know that maybe I'm the only one who sees it. Maybe I'm the only one who wants to talk about it. You know, I bring it up with my own family. I talk to my cousins when they're on it. You know, I am not afraid to point somebody out and say, they're on it. I know they are. I'm not afraid. You can ask any of my people, you know, I am so against it, because I know how much it destroyed. It destroyed my life. It took my girl, it took my home, it took my job. I went to the very bottom, and I had a lot of helping hands to get to where I am now. And now all I'm doing is asking for helping hands for those others who are out there where I was. And we need it. I'm here to tell y'all we need it. We need somebody out there who has this education for meth, because it's getting worse. It's getting worse, and it's killing people now. It's not stopping, and I stand to lose all my brothers and sisters to it. And where's that being talked about within our nation? We have members who are addicted. Where's that being talked about in our nation about our members? I'm here to bring that up and bring that into light and say, look around. We have some employees who are on it, The people who come into our homes who are on it, who are under the influence, is not going to help. I'm tired of turning a blind eye to it. I'm tired of saying they're on meth and everybody's saying, oh, well, don't, just don't look over there. Well, no, they're at our powwow grounds. They're at our hand games. They're in they're in our homes. And how are you guys going to help us get it out? How are you guys helping us get it out? I had to fight it. I had a lot of helping hands, but I didn't get any I got it from my Aunt Babs. And she's not here, so who's going to step up and have that on their heart to take that brunt on? It's heavy, and it's here, and it's killing our people, and I just want to bring that to your attention, because it's taken pieces of my heart. Thank you.
Louise, thank you for your comments. Those are very brave words that you shared with us regarding this problem, and I thank you for that. I thank you for your courage to come up here and share that with us. And it is an eye-opening, it's a very eye-opening problem in the community, not only among the Pawnee communities, but in this day and age, throughout Indian country as well. We see that rising addiction and a problem out there. And we'll put this on our list. I do know that for a number of years, the last 2 or 3 years, I think, there's been some plans within the government of trying to create a behavior health center, inpatient and outpatient. Brian Kirk, has been working on that, and we've secured $3 million for that. It's going to be about a $17 million project. But we're at the point now where we're negotiating with a partner to basically take that project and try to get it open in a couple-year period here. And so to that extent, I think it might include that issue, that medical issue, in that. So that's I don't know, but we will take a look at that and just see what we can do, whether we can start doing things now with the ARPA money. But I do know that that's the major initiative that I'm aware of that could help in some fashion on that. But those are very brave, courageous words that you shared with you, and I thank you for that. And they're going to be factored in as we go forward. So thank you, Louise. Appreciate it. God bless. Yes.
The behavioral health in previous online comments, because like she said, we send our people off to treatment and whatnot, and they come back.
Yeah.
But where's that extra support? And it may not necessarily be a building, but where's that extra support to help them stay strong and to keep going in the positive direction. That's kind of also, it's just known, it's needed, and not necessarily saying that new building, a building, but those other people, I guess, key people to support our loved ones when they come back from treatment or when they need to get to treatment or, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was tethered there a little bit. I want to just speak a little bit on my understanding of the plans of this behavioral health center, because it's not just a building. There's a whole plan that goes in with that, pulling in full-time addiction treatment, counseling side of things, both on the alcohol and on other substance abuse issues. As well as medical doctors, psychiatrist side of things to help on with medications. So this is not just we're going to build a building and it'll just sit there. The idea of this is that there's a whole plan of a whole structure of not just hiring a person, but a large number of professionals who are focused on this. And the main focus of this actually is more on the substance abuse side of things than it is the rest of the behavioral health issue. I think it's great that we will cover other behavioral health issues, but that is really the primary goal with this. And I'm hoping, and I realize it'd be great if if that was here today. But they've made some really great strides, and it's really looking promising. And this is a service that I think will be, it's being a physician, having worked in emergency rooms, I get somebody in that I need to send somewhere, we have to send them to the other side of the state, because there's nobody in this area that has these kind of services. So I really think it's something we can do and have that potential of doing really well. And there really is a pretty significant plan going into place with a partner that has the ability to get us this staff. So it's not just us going out and trying to find these folks. There's a whole plan of how this will work, how it will be paid for. So I'm hoping once the full project starts, it's looking at a 2-year time period, and we should be up and going. For something this huge, it's actually pretty rapid, and I know it'd be better if it was today, but we are on that.
So again, thank you for your remarks on this important issue. All right, Deb Echohawk, the mic is yours.
Thank you. Noah, everybody, and I would like to speak on behalf of our incarcerated. When we have our folks return to us after being having lived in those conditions of being in prison, I don't really see that much for them. Re-entering society, what does that mean for them? And I know we had one of our volunteers that was released from prison, spent a lot of time with our seeds and felt, received a lot of blessings and just really felt like that was a real nice re-entry into getting back to know people and doing something positive and wonderful. But there should be other programs like that to think about those folks, so they don't enter into bad habits and abusive ways. And then I'd also like to bring up the point that more than ever we need a functioning, meaningful tarot office, because you know, that is our crystal ball of the tribe to tell us where we are headed, you know, what jobs are needed in the 2-3 years ahead. You know, they need to have all those job descriptions in there. They need to be training people until they get that workforce ready to apply for those new jobs that we're talking about. And you know, it's just really, you know, we need an aggressive tarot staff to do that. You know, they just can't sit in the office and wait for somebody to pop in. You know, they really need to work hand in hand with our planners and our, you know, job development, and produce that job skills bank, like what Gina was saying. You know, how do we know what kind of resources we have until somebody puts it together? Well, the best person in the world to do it would be someone working in tarot. So I just want to leave with that. Thank you.
Thank you for that advice. Turn it back.
All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak toward anything, or is there anybody on Facebook Live or YouTube? Sam, have there been any other ideas on Facebook Live or YouTube that we could mention? Okay. So we've got youth outreach, we have housing, and did you say employment? Okay. These are all really excellent suggestions. I'm so glad we have the Facebook Live people and all that too.
I just want to say to the tribal members that are participating virtually that all of your suggestions will be preserved and added to our list. You know, this has been a real valuable treasure trove of information to this business council as we attempt to gather the information, you know, from our members as to next steps, you know, in spending this ARPA money. And I think that, you know, it shows, it illustrates that we have a lot of needs to address here. So we have an awful lot of food for thought on that. And so I just wanted to mention and thank all of the online visitors as we begin towards drawing near to the close, that your comments and input are appreciated. They will all be preserved and added to the list. And I see for the third time, Deb Eckelhock, the podium is yours.
Thank you. On behalf of Mike Burgess, one of our partners for the SEED project, Mike Burgess is our president of the Pawnee Nation College. and he couldn't be here today. He emailed and said, on behalf of the college and the potential Pawnee Nation members that desire to achieve a college degree, I would like to suggest the following possibility. That they could make an endowment to the college for the benefit of enrolled Pawnee Nation citizens to enroll them in Pawnee Nation College for the duration of a bachelor's degree. The endowment could specify that the funds would support the salary of a faculty member to instruct in the Pawnee language and cultural curriculum. It could also specify that the funds can be used to pay tuition for 2 or 4 years with an achievement, a grade point average of 2.5 by the student in order to receive the scholarship for the duration of their enrollment. This is just a summary of thought to assist the nation and its citizens to achieve a higher education degree. Respectfully, Michael Burgess, President.
Thank you for giving us his ideas. Those are all real important too. Are there any other suggestions or ideas that you all are getting on your messaging? 8A contracting? 8A contracting is you go in and apply for 8A status, and it gives you an upper hand on getting government contracts, and it gives you particular tax advantages. I will write 8A contracting down. Okay, like to have our own cloud, our own Pawnee Nation cloud. That would be excellent, I think, because it also ensures your sovereignty, because if you have your own cloud and it's on trust space, then a court can't compel you to turn things over lots of times. Those are good ideas. Are we? And the wellness court idea is a good thing about the incarceration, because we also have to be able to drill down with specific ideas to make proposals to bring to the COVID committee, you know. So that's excellent. I think we've gotten some good ideas, though, and I'm excited to see all the different ideas, too, that are on Facebook Live. I know that I'm sure that we haven't looked at all of them yet, but I think this has been very good. Would you like some closing remarks?
Yes, I see Gwen Shanatona. Gwen, do you have any wise words to add to us at this point? Gwen is Pawnee Nation descendant. She's enrolled with the Citizen Potawatomi Prairie Band Potawatomi, but she comes to us from the Shanatona family and valued elder here in our community. And so since we're in the waning minutes, I don't want her to get out the door without if she had any words that she had to say here.
I actually came to support the Pawnee Seed Preservation Society, and we were getting ready to leave, but Noah Akitari, not just you, but everybody, all of the tribe, all the family. There were two, now there's three particular points I just want to help support. Tarasa, Lisaru, Sidikiriku is actually my dad's name, but I'm named similarly. And it's to tell us how to be. His name was be the chief they look to. My name is following the steps of the chief in his footsteps. And it tells us that's not the way we are. That's the way we're supposed to be. And that's the way I see you all. You all are doing a good job. Appreciate that. I was concerned about the Itawu, our teachers. I'm one of their students, 77 years old, learning a lot from them. From the last 3 years, I think it's been, to now, they have developed into wonderful teachers. They were sincere, they had passion when they came to us initially, and they've now learned how to convey that language to us. My concern is that the issues that have been raised, which are outstanding, need to be looked at in terms of what we've lost during the COVID period. And in terms of the Bakudu, we've stepped back in terms of not having that direct interaction with that interface with the Itawu and with the other students that we learn from. And it's wonderful that we learn not just words, not just sentences, but we're studying what did they mean when they first came up with those concepts? What were they thinking about? What were they feeling? So that we better understand how to be better Pawnees. That loss and having to structure yourself to study is difficult. So that's one of the issues I think that needs to be thought about in terms of language. It's long past time to support that fully. In terms of what Louise talked about, when I first came here years ago to live full-time, she was the hardest working employee I saw at the Pawnee Nation. And I've told her that more than once, even when she doubts herself. And the issue I hear, there's a big space between what she said was needed and what you told her. Y'all are hopeful. Yes, we're going to do this. We're going to do this in 2 years. How many lives are we going to lose in 2 years? So the issue is, there a way to find, are the Myth counselors not available? Are they not out there to bring here? Or to even do virtually counseling? I don't know if that's useful or not, but I'm just thinking if we think out of the box in terms of other ways, rather than just feeling it in our hearts, but to bring something now. You don't have to have a building, as she said, as well. So those are just my closing thoughts for myself. Appreciate y'all doing this today. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. Appreciate those wise words, and I think they're well taken, and this will be an issue that will be taken up by our Pawnee Nation Medical Committee, which is composed of Pawnee Nation doctors and nurses and medical professionals, and so we will put that on the agenda. Councilman Evans chairs that committee, Dr. Evans, and they will see if there's something we can do pending this new behavioral health facility. So we appreciate those brave words, and we'll take them to heart in the spirit that they were offered. So I just want to add a closing word of thanks to each and every person that was here. Interested tribal members, you've shown your interest in your nation and how we go forward to navigate our way out of this pandemic into a stronger nation than it was before. And you've given us a lot of very important and very helpful suggestions that this council will study. And it looks like we've got a lot of work ahead for us, you know, and that goes on to strengthening our nation and navigating safely out of this pandemic, and as was mentioned, to leave something for our younger generation coming up, you know, that will help them along their way as well. And I know that this council here, I can't hardly keep up with them at my advanced age, you know, but they're all hard workers. I'm up here with a number of racehorses that are very eager and able to serve this nation to the best of their ability, and I know that we all appreciate you guys taking time out on the 4th of July of your own holiday here to assist your nation in our great time of need to go forward from here. And so I thank you for that. Council, are there any closing remarks? We have about 15 minutes here, unless there's anyone else in the room, the back of the room back there, you know, that may want to address this council. The microphone is open. And council, I'll also throw the floor open to y'all if you have anything you would care to add by way of helping us to close out our wonderful tribal member forum that we've had this morning, you know. Is there any, Sammy?
Thank you, President Alcock. I myself am grateful for all of the contributions made by our nation citizens regarding their thoughts on spend and sustainment. We can't build something and try to start something without being able to sustain it. That just kind of just messes up my gears when we do something and then 2 years later it's kaput. So that's my biggest drive. Weeze, I really appreciate you coming forward today. You broke my heart. We got to do better. And I'm sorry to be emotional. I had that same issue within my own little family. And I'm glad to say that through God and prayer, we got through that. Some people haven't been that fortunate. So I myself am an advocate to get this moving, not next week, but now. We're going to figure it out, and perhaps it's going to have to go through our health offices and such, but there is definitely a need here. I am all about zero tolerance of sales within our nation. I think that that's something that council should be thinking about, and I would ask our secretary to put that on our next agenda as an agenda item to discuss and to really, that's something that we can do right now. I don't think that we have any time to waste with that illness. It only takes a couple uses of that for a quick addiction. It's horrible. And yeah, you're in my prayers, and that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Sammy.
Okay, thank you. I would like to thank everybody for their contributions. These were excellent suggestions, and we have an excellent department that we can work it in and use the wording, Gwen, and everything to get what we need. And to Louise, I think one of the things that we can do immediately, you said 2 years, and you mentioned that. I think that one of the things that we could do immediately as a council is institute evidence-based therapy for meth addiction, because it is an addiction that is very different from everything else. You know, I'm a alcohol and substance abuse therapist in my career, and it really does make a difference to not use AA. I could relate very well to what you said. And we do have a lot of programming here, so I think it's just for right now, immediately, is to take a change in a new direction in the type of interventions that we do with addiction, and you know that. So I think that, I'm glad you came forward with that, because there is something we can do immediately. And the clinic, the behavioral health clinic, I've been in on those meetings. There are no addiction treatments around here, and for the Pawnees to have this opportunity quickly to build this and to have other tribes come here and stay here, and plus it will train our people. We will also be able to train people to work in the clinic. So it's just goes hand in hand, and I'm glad you brought it forward. You know, it's just really an important issue. I heard a lot of the economic stuff, and I heard the 8A contracting, and that is an area that we should look at to going into, because like the big tribes, the Cherokees, Choctaws, Chickasaws, that's where they get their money, is 8A contracting, you know, and it's separate from a lot of the other businesses. So, and of course, language was the other thing that it is probably the most important thing we talked about here today, because it is who we are. And so we are lucky to have 2 young men, 3, I guess, that are linguists. That is just unheard of in Indian country, you know, so I'm really, really glad to hear that also. So.
Allow me to talk. No, I'm just playing. I just want to thank everybody for their comments and everything, and I think that that's a good idea. And Pam Cook had mentioned on the Facebook Live that we need to reach out to them instead of just having them walk into a building. We need to actually take steps to reach out to these people. And I think that that is a wonderful idea. And I think that with Carol's experience that we can make that happen. I think it's going to be a good program because it is needed. But I'm excited about all these other ideas that were given. Gina gave some really good ideas I think that we can elaborate on. And the main thing that this council, well, I've been stressing to this council has been communication. And I think we're making good strides in trying to get that. And just bear with us, we're almost there. But I think that a lot of these other ideas and stuff are wonderful. And I can't wait to be able to sit down and kind of look at everything and put everything into place. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate what everybody's already said, is that we have heard a lot of great ideas today. And a lot of things we've already talked about, so I'm hoping to see some of these go into fruition. Louise, thank you for your comments. You know, I love you, and you know, you're my family. Know your struggles, so I definitely support that initiative, what you brought up. So thank you. I also wanted to make mention what I've heard about. You know, Ella, you asked about the charter school. I was on the founding board until I got elected, and I got off of it, but still very much involved with that. Recently, I was asked to be a part of this Pawnee Say Yes committee, which there's a bond issue coming up in September for a new elementary school. You know, to tear down the old school and to build a new one, bigger classrooms. And I did sit down and talk to the superintendent about possibly bringing our curriculum to the elementary, and they were very open to that. You know, our language, starting our language early, pre-K, all the grade school level, because right now here locally you can go to 6th grade and start that. And the charter school initiative, I think, was basically that we wanted to get our voice, you know, into our young kids, our language. But you know, and this is more recent developments, so I'm hoping that we can expound on that and get into the elementary school with our own curriculum and language that we can offer to the young kids. So I just wanted to make mention of that, and I definitely do support the language initiative. But yes, thank everybody for their comments, and we'll definitely be reviewing these quite extensively. So thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say I'm so incredibly impressed. This is my first time at something like this, and I had no idea what to expect. So impressed with the thoughtful, forward-thinking responses. You know, I mean, it's so good to know that our people are thinking of our future. You know, what we can do to make things better, not just for right now. Just very good. And I just, I've learned a lot today, and definitely things that we'll start working on right away. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Evans. And I think one thing that we might be able to do on the meth issue is to possibly counsel to have convene some sort of a summit, an internal summit, so we can inventory all of the IHS and tribal programs, mental health programs, and possibly work towards redirecting some of the priorities in the near term towards bringing to bear, you know, what we can to address that issue. And because I know there's bits and pieces out there, you know, but if we could have a summit of some kind, of internal summit to muster our resources, inventory them, and maybe redirect the priorities to that, you know, that would be something that we should also probably put on our plate. But I see Pawnee Horse Chief. Do you have any words to offer here before we close down here? We're winding our way towards we're getting ready to go over to the tail dance. So we're trying to go to the tail dance, Pawnee.
I'm sorry I overslept. Stayed up too late popping fireworks. Thank you for allowing me to speak, President Eckelhawk. I wanted to, I caught just like the tail end as I was driving in town. My name is Pawnee Horse Chief, and I'm an enrolled tribal member here. My folks is Minnie and Arthur Fields, and my grandfolks are Sam and Effie Osborne. But I wanted to, I heard just a tail end of what Louise was speaking about in regards to meth, and I wanted to come up and give her a hug and encourage her and tell her thank you for having the courage to come out and speak at that, and that at that level, to integrate yourself and family, because that is a tough thing to do, as most of us, well, I won't say everybody but knows, but I wanted to piggyback on that, because that's, and Louise is correct, you know, AA, with me being an alcoholic, doesn't cover everything as far as like across the board of meth or opiates. One thing that I've, that I have struggled with and is that with alcohol, and that's been since the passing of my husband in 2017. And since then, we've all lost a lot of family members during this time, through the COVID and just through life and through addiction, as Louise has spoke about. I've lost a lot myself, and most people don't have to know my history of family members that I've lost to alcohol, and I don't have to go into that, but those of you that do know will appreciate that it's a struggle. It's not as easily just going to church and just giving it all to God. It's a walk, a daily walk every day. And one thing that I wanted to share what has helped me in my walk, and my walk hasn't been perfect, and I accept that, and I live with that daily, but has been I wanted to be outside, and it's been in nature, and it's been a part of who we come from, whether it's being in the soil is where I do my best therapy, because there's and Dr. Evans can probably speak to this, is that there's a friendly bacteria in soil that's good for depression. And when I read that, I got so excited. And I learned that when I was taking a course over at Pawnee Nation College, soil science with Dr. Dennis Haga, who's no longer there. But so I learned that, and I wanted to be outside and learn more about plants and then this indigenous movement came about. But I started to looking into like medicinal plants that we can look to rather than Western medicine of healing, whether it's for depression, whether it's for the gut, whether it's for headaches. And I think that if we would look to these and look to some of the resources that we may have and Deb Eckerhawk with the Pawnee Seed Preservation Society has one of the things that they work on, and that I've worked on as well, is researching the knowledge of these medicinal plants. And then I think that in collaboration, if we could collaborate with our Cultural Resource Division Department and integrate that and develop a curriculum that could be used for our treatment center. But I think it's vital and important that mental health has been integrated into it, because those go hand in hand, depression and addiction. And trauma affects different people in different kinds of ways, but that's been my experience. I'm just speaking to that. And so one of the things that I did was that to try to learn as much as I can was speaking with other natives, with other programs, whether it's a UG Butterfly Farm, other people that we see on Facebook, that groups that are collaborated with, and if we could share this knowledge and develop a curriculum, our own curriculum that's Pawnee based, our own plants that we can use, and we can share that with our own people. But it's also allowing the other medicinal plants of other tribal members that they know may be beneficial to be integrated in. For example, with this is my second year to grow a medicinal herb garden, and I have a couple of different locations where I'm growing some tobacco to be shared, and one of those is at President Eckerhawk's garden, and that's we're growing medicinal plants out there. And I have it's not bragging, but I wanted to share that there's horsetail that we drive by every day that's good for depression, that we can make teas out of. These are that I've seen in my research, whether it's at farmers market or Sharps in Ponca City. They're selling like little 2-ounce packages of horsetail for $8.95 for dried herbs. Horsetail grows everywhere in like dry lands where it's hard to garden. And so these are things that with us, myself and learning and other gardeners that I've worked with, that gardening can be kind of intimidating because you don't know, you have to deal with the climate, the weather, soil, and then your own energy that you put into it yourself. And so it can be it's very beneficial. So therapeutic gardening is what I call. And my idea 3 years ago was, and a team that I work on, was to grow the growers. And that was to encourage other natives about growing gardens and letting them share the knowledge about medicinal plants and how they can be beneficial to us. And living off the lands, truly living off the lands like our people used to do. There's a variety, thousands of plants out there that we could research and integrate with like the Cultural Resource Division, and then develop our own curriculum for our own center, and then be able, this could be a model that could be shared with others. And I think to benefit all Native people for healing, and that would encourage sustainable living, because you're gardening, you're growing your own foods. That's healthy food access. You're being beneficial to the pollinator plants, because the plants that we would grow would be pollinator plants that are beneficial to food access, because they have to pollinate. The system work hand in hand. They're symbiotic relationships. So and that's and that's one of the things that. And that can go a step further into looking into our historic sites that we have that need preservation, and getting people those that, whether it's therapeutic garden, that they can use to go and do the work on that. That can be our data collecting. And this is just a little bit part of ideas that I have. And we could be a resource for other tribes. Therapeutic gardening, we could be with the co-occurring, looking for mental health and addiction. And again, I want to say, Louise, thank you for bringing that to personalizing that, But I know that we all want to get over there, but thank you for allowing me this time. And this is something that I worked on, and not just myself, and a group of people that worked on ideas for therapeutic gardening. And we had presented with the Pawnee County Healthy Coalition. There could be resources there as puppets that we could integrate as well.
Thank you, Moni. I just wanted to say thank you for your remarks. You know, when she's talking about medicinal plants, at one time the Pawnee, big part of our culture was the plant knowledge of the Pawnee people gleaned over millennium. Every plant out there, native plant, has a spirit of its own and its own medicinal values, and our ancestors were intimately familiar with all of the plants in our indigenous homeland, our Aboriginal homeland. And so your thoughts with regard to learning and spreading the knowledge about plant knowledge, you know, is well taken here. And I know that, for example, you know, we always think that our ancestors, they were familiar with every plant, every tree, the sacred living covering of Mother Earth, you know. And we felt like, I was under the impression that when we left Nebraska and come down here, we lost a lot of our plant knowledge because our plants we're most familiar with were in the Central Plains. But yet Mr. Randy Ledford, who is a biologist, you know, he ran managed Pawnee Bill's buffalo ranch for 12 years. He's basically very familiar with Pawnee plants, medicinal plants, and what their uses are. And he's he says that there's about 100 plants in our neighborhood right here on our current homeland that are traditional Pawnee plants that are used for different purposes. And he's inventoried that, and he's able to go out and identify those plants and whatnot. So I think if you were to team up with him and possibly the Pawnee Nation College and other entities here, that we could restore yet another big part of our culture, and that is our plant knowledge. You know, the Great Spirit put these plants out there as our pharmacy, as well as our grocery store. And so I think what you're talking about is another big cornerstone of Pawnee culture out there, to relearn the plant knowledge that our ancestors were all very familiar with at one time. And so I think we have the ingredients here to basically restore that part of our culture. So I thank you for your input. Possibly this might even be something, again, for the medical committee, because she's talking about medicinal plant knowledge, you know.
And I think it's important that cultural, that come from.
And there's a big cultural component.
Right.
You
Pawnee
betcha.
Nation Cultural Resource Division, because they have a lot of knowledge there and I don't feel like they're utilized enough.
And I think that's something for our cultural division and our medical committee and the seed project, that we've got the ingredients here to bring that back. So I thank you for that.
Thank you, Tim.
With that, I'm going to turn this back to Deidre, and I believe this clock on the wall says it's time to have a tail dance. So.
Well, again, thank you all so much for coming out, and thank you to the people who are participating on Facebook Live. We really appreciate you taking this time out of your holiday and out of your homecoming, and I know that you had a lot of fun last night, and I'm sure there's more fun to be had this evening. And I just wish everyone well and a safe and happy 4th of July. Thank you.